Okay, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is Jeff with Fluent American checking in as always. Today we have another task 2. Okay, you can join us in the document. I'm also going to try to make it so you can see my screen as well, so you can also see this too. Okay, give that a moment. Okay, some key things today. We're going to be again looking at a task 2 prompt. Okay. If you have questions as we go through this, just be sure to let me know. You can feel free to post it in the chat box. I'll be doing my best to check on it. Let me move this over here. And we'll move my document on this side. Okay, yeah, so if you have questions, feel free to just let me know. So this is a task 2 prompt saying people like working for a company rather than starting their own business. Why is this the case? What can be done to encourage people to start their own businesses? Okay. I do have to teach a class in a bit, so we'll try to get through as much of this as we can. But again, so we have 2 parts. Why is this the case? So we need to answer that why question. And then what can be done to encourage people to start their own businesses? So we need to talk about steps. Okay. Why is this the case? What can be done? In terms of the amount of answers we need to give, there's nothing here that suggests singular or plural, so you really just need to give at least one reason for the case. And then in terms of what can be done to encourage people, again, there's no singular or plurals here, so you could, in theory, just give one. All right, so this is the essay I received. A quick note, I'm seeing an intro, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. 3 body paragraphs is a lot. I generally suggest if you are able to just talk about this in ideally 2 body paragraphs maximum, that would be great. I think 3 tends to be a lot for a lot of my students. So I generally suggest, 2 body paragraphs, 3 body paragraphs might be a little bit too much. Let's begin just trying to identify some of the grammar things throughout this essay. So people prefer to serve as employees rather than employers. That's grammatically fine. There's several reasons behind this phenomenon, and effective measures can be taken. I would suggest a comma here because your verbs have different verbs and different subjects. There are several reasons. Reasons is your subjects here. And then effective measures can be taken. So effective measures is your subject here. So when that happens in English, you want to try to make sure that you have a comma in between those clauses, just to be clear. Okay? Stimulate them or to start up their own businesses. Okay. Also, a little bit unclear about the them. Who is them referring to? It's not really indicated in the sentence. I'm assuming it's people, but you probably want to be a little bit more explicit. So like effective measures can be taken to stimulate. The other things you could say, like potential maybe like entrepreneurs or something like that. Again, thinking about vocabulary, thinking about ways to boost that vocab a bit. I think that would be helpful. Okay. To start up their own business. One of the main causes is that, watch your capitalization, so this should be a small I. Okay, one of the main causes is that if people start up their own businesses, they will be faced with enormous pressures. One of the main causes, again, we've been kind of abstract. There are several reasons behind this phenomenon. One of the main causes, I think this is a good opportunity to kind of repeat or basically refer back to what we're talking about. So one of the main causes, maybe like behind, like the fact people prefer to be prefer to work for other companies. And so again, I would just go a little bit more explicit because we're using the pronouns a lot, and we probably want to refer back to what we're talking about. So one of the main causes behind the fact that people prefer to work for other companies is that people start up their own business, they'll be faced with enormous pressures, such as Okay, this sentence here is not complete. It needs a subject, it needs a verb. There's no subject, there's no verb here. This is a quick way to really lose points on your grammar, grammatical range, and accuracy. Okay, so definitely watch out for phrases like this that are missing subjects and verbs. There's also a risk that they might fail in setting up their companies. Therefore, they are more willing to work for someone. And again, you don't need the space with the period. Okay, besides that, the grammar looks okay for me there. Another reason that should not be ignored is some people's character of being stable. This part is a little bit unclear. You either need to make this a separate noun phrase, or it needs a verb to be added to it, so that way it can be complete. Because right now it's not quite correct. Another reason that should not be ignored is some people like struggle with, or maybe some people prefer stable situations, maybe something like that. That would make this complete. Okay, so basically you would have a noun clause here acting as your direct object. Another reason that should not be ignored is some people prefer stable situations. For these people, they may just want to secure an occupation and receive a fixed salary. Okay, fixed salary, okay. Probably a more common expression for that would be a fixed income. They do not have the ambition to earn more money or pursue luxurious lifestyles. Thus, they don't want to take efforts. Instead, take efforts. Maybe they don't want to put in the effort to start a business. Okay, grammatically, that's what I would suggest there. Okay. In order to make some changes for this situation, to begin with, government should implement some policies to encourage startups. Startups here being a noun. We'll make it plural because we're talking about it in general. So adding that S. For instance, perks for money, stimulus, less taxes, or free innovation centers. So again, we have another sentence that's not quite complete. This is very similar to earlier where we had that such as. Okay, same thing here. We need to try to make this a complete sentence. This is not a complete sentence. It needs a subject and it needs a verb. For instance, perks for money, stimulants. Also a little bit unclear. I'm not entirely sure what money stimulants are. So maybe I think what we're saying here potentially is perks such as I don't know, grants, maybe to stimulate so again, encouraging startups. What are we talking about? So for instance, perks such as grants to maybe cover construction costs or something, maybe. Instead of less taxes, maybe lower taxes. Or free innovation centers. So again, we would need to then add a subject and a verb to this part, which we can take a look at in a moment. What's more, online business systems can be made easier for people to use and at a lower cost. Okay. Online business systems, to me, is a little bit abstract. I probably want to talk more about that, but we'll get back to that. To give an example, people may only need to pay a small fee for launching their shops on online platforms such as Amazon or Taobao. How to use the system of these platforms can also be improved to be more simple. I think we mean how to use the system can also be maybe improved to be more simple. We can just say can also be simplified. I think that's the easiest way to make that a little bit easier to say. Okay. To recapitulate, people would rather work for a company since startups generally follow with great pressures and failures. Maybe instead of followed with, maybe encounter. Startups generally encounter great pressures and failures. and people might just want to live a stable life. Okay, I think that's fine. Local governments can offer more financial support. In this case, support will be non-count, so no S. Get rid of that S. Local governments can offer more financial support, comma, because again, we're changing our subject and our verb. So because we're changing our subject and our verb, we need a comma between these parts of our sentence. So local governments can offer more financial support, comma, and online platforms should be made easier for people to maybe like open startups. Okay, so those are the main grammar and vocab things that I'm seeing so far, especially focusing on grammar. Let's now maybe go a little bit slower in the time we have left, just to kind of see what's happening in each of these paragraphs. Take a look at the intro to start. People prefer to serve as employees rather than employers. Okay, so this is our hook. Remember the goals of a hook. So hooks should introduce the topic, the specific topic, in a relatively general way that engages the reader. Okay, you want the reader to be engaged with what you're saying, ideally, with the hook. Okay, I think we could probably push this hook a little bit more. People prefer to serve as employees rather than employers. Try to give some more specific examples of that. When we say, one way we could do that is take a look at these words like employees and employers. Maybe we could use some more concrete terms for that. So instead of saying people prefer to serve as employees rather than employers, like you could say like if choosing between working for, sorry about my son, he's a little upset, it's almost nap time. If choosing between working maybe like behind a front desk or choosing between working behind the front desk or so now we want to try to convey something that shows employers, or maybe like being responsible for hiring the face behind that desk. Many people choose the latter. Something like that could be just a little bit more engaging. Again, that's just a hook that we made in like a minute, so obviously it could be improved, but I think this gets you a little bit more engaged in the essay to start with than just this original hook, because I think this is maybe a little bit too general. Okay. Then you can go a little bit more specific in your next sentence to transition into your thesis. So like repeatedly, people choose to join companies rather than start their own. Okay, so you have your hook, then your transition, that then leads into your thesis statement. So there are several reasons behind this phenomena. Okay, you want to name the specific reasons you will discuss. Okay, don't forget to do that. So to give you an example, you could name, what are reasons that we talk about? The pressures. So you want to mention the pressures. You also mentioned the risk. Okay, and the fact that there's less stability, which is then talked about in that second body paragraph here. Less stability, and also they're already comfortable. They don't need that more luxurious lifestyle. Okay, so these are all the reasons that are basically being mentioned in your body paragraphs. So you want to make sure that you're also introducing them in your thesis. This is tied to your task achievement score. This is tied to your coherence and cohesion score. Okay, it shows that you have a plan for your writing and that you also have developed ideas. Okay, so if you're trying to score a band 7 or higher, these are things that you really want to include. Effective measures can be taken. What specific measures? Again, name the specific measures that will be discussed. Okay, so again, similar idea there. You would then want to do basically what we just did for the other category. You would want to do that here for the measures. Okay, let's take a look at the first body paragraph. Okay, and as I'm doing this, again, feel free to post some questions in the chat box if anything's not clear. One of the main causes behind the fact work for other companies that people they instead of they will be faced, they will face. Enormous amounts of pressure. Okay. So again, we have this list of examples. It's not really a complete sentence, so we'd want this to be a complete sentence. One way to do that is you could combine it with the previous sentence, but we'll talk about the implications of that. So they will face with enormous amounts of pressure, such as stress from maybe instead of running costs, maybe like operating costs. Stress from operating costs, human resource management, or marketing. Okay, so you're giving me 3 things here: operating costs, human resource management, marketing. That's 3 separate things. My suggestion for this then, for everything that you name, especially in your topic sentence, you really want to explain. So you need to give a main idea in detail for operating costs. Give a main idea in detail for human resources. And then give a main idea in detail for marketing. Main idea detail for marketing. Now, some people are going to be like, but Geoff, there's no way I could write about all of that in a paragraph. And yeah, I'm going to agree with you. You're going to run into time issues. So something that you need to do is you need to limit yourself. You're giving too many examples here. I would just pick 1 or 2 to focus on. Giving 3 is too much to explain. You don't have enough time. You're going to run into issues, or most students will. Okay, so I would suggest just picking 1 or 2 of these. Okay. It's also a risk they may fail in setting up their companies. Okay, so then you have another main idea. This risk of failure. Okay, fine, but this needs to be explained. Why is there this risk? Where is this risk coming from? You need to explain it. So you have a main idea here. There's also risk that they may fail. That's great, but you need to explain that risk. You need to give a detail. If you write a sentence like this, but you don't explain it at the end of your essay, you're going to get a lower task achievement score because you're not fully developing your answer. Okay, that's going to keep you around like a, I don't know, 5 or 6 range, potentially lower. Okay, therefore, they're more willing to work for someone. Again, you need to give a detail. Why are they more willing? What happens when you work for someone? Okay, you need to be more explicit. You need to specifically say, oh, well, when you work for someone, you don't have to worry about these things. You know, the bosses worry about managing human resources. There's a marketing department that handles the marketing. Things like that. You need to give me some more reasons about why are they more willing to work for someone else. Okay. Let's, for the sake of time, I'm going to take a look at that third body paragraph. So in order to make some changes for this situation, to begin with, government should implement some policies to encourage startups. You could probably go, I'm curious about what kinds of policies. So I would go a little bit more specific. What kinds of policies are you focusing on? So policies related to what? Be more specific. For instance, perks such as grants to cover construction costs, lower taxes, and free innovation centers. Again, we talked about this sentence is not complete, so make this sentence complete. What would these things do? How would they work? Why will this make people more willing to start businesses? Okay, these are all questions that I have right now, but I don't really have any answers in the paragraph. And these are kind of key questions tied to your development. Okay, again, you're introducing a concept, you need to explain it. What's more, online business systems can be made easier for people to use and maybe like be made available at a lower cost. Okay, so one question, the most important question you can ask yourself in writing is, so what? Or who cares? So when you say that, oh, we can make these systems easier and cheaper, great, but why do I care about that? How is this connected to the prompt? So why would this make people more willing? More willing to start businesses? Again, I have the same question. Okay, I don't really get any answers to that in this whole paragraph, and these are key things that are tied to your argument. Okay, so probably the biggest thing that I see in this whole essay is just the argumentation. It's missing details. This is a pretty common mistake I see with students, and it's something that I think could really limit this essay or prevent this essay from getting a higher score. This is probably going to get stuck somewhere around, I don't know, maybe like a 6, if I had to guess, just really quick. All right, guys, that's my suggestions for this essay. Again, you can find it in the Google Doc. You can see it in the chat box. If you have questions for me about this essay or any other essay, be sure to let me know. But besides that, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. And also be sure to join our IELTS writing group, where we give some regular practice exercises and examples of writing that I think could do well for the test. Thank you guys for your time. We'll see you later. Have a good day, have a good night, and a good afternoon. Take care. I have to check